When I started working with my client Aislinn, she had about 10 pounds she wanted to lose. Aislinn is a jockey, meaning she races horses for a living. And in sports like horse racing, weight is key to making it big time. Think of an event like the Kentucky Derby. The extra weight you're carrying is extra weight on your horse, which leads to slower times that can make a major impact at a highly competitive event. So for Aislinn, the number on the scale was important. And she came to me in January a couple of years ago because she wanted to get rid of some of the extra weight she had gained during the pandemic and over the holidays. For someone like this, I usually focus a lot on the details, and it's more of a performance-specific type of nutrition. So tracking macros was something I felt she needed to do, especially because she wasn't someone with a lot of weight to lose. Turns out she hated macro and calorie tracking. A bad coach would have told her this is the only way to reach your goals. A good coach, hopefully like myself, would say, okay, if this is not working, let's try something different. So that's exactly what we did. In 4 months of working together, Aislinn hit her 10-pound weight loss goal without tracking a single calorie, which is a huge accomplishment, especially since she was already pretty lean to begin with. So how did Aislinn lose weight without tracking calories, and how can you achieve this too? In today's video, I'm going to explain the complete strategy I use with my clients to lose weight without counting calories when that is the case. Plus, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you Aislinn's before and after transformation, so make sure you keep watching for more. Hey there, and welcome back to another video. We're actually 30 videos in, and this is pretty exciting. I'm excited about this YouTube channel. It's like slowly growing. We're getting there. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. But if you're new here, my name is Andres. I am a registered dietitian. I'm a weight loss expert. I'm also a husband. I'm also a dad to an almost 1-year-old son. His name is Maxi, and I'm the CEO of Planners Nutrition, which is an online coaching company that helps busy parents, professionals improve their nutrition and crush their health and weight loss goals in the process. I'm super excited to have you here in today's video because I'm going to be answering a question I get asked all of the time, particularly as a coach who often uses a macro tracking process as a tool to help my clients reach their goals. And that question is, can you lose weight without counting calories? In order to answer this question, let's first do a quick review of how weight loss happens. The basic state that you need for weight loss to occur, it's called a calorie deficit, which is when you burn more calories than you consume from food over a specific period of time. When you create this deficit either by increasing the calories you're burning or decreasing the calories that you're eating or consuming, or a combination of both, your body uses stored fat for energy and you'll lose weight. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's essentially the way it works. If someone is counting calories, the first thing you need to do is estimate how many calories your body needs each day to sustain or maintain your weight. That is what we call calorie maintenance. Then you'll subtract a few hundred calories from that, and that will be the goal for your daily calorie intake. Usually, I like to recommend subtracting 250 to 500 calories from your maintenance each day. So for example, if you calculate that you need to eat 2,300 calories to maintain your weight, you may aim to eat 2,000 to maybe 1,900 calories every day, which will create the calorie deficit that you need for weight loss. When it comes on to macro tracking, that process goes a step further, and it starts to break down your total calories for weight loss, not only looking into 2,000 calories you're consuming, but also you're splitting that up into specific amounts of the 3 main macronutrients: proteins, carbs, and fats. So you have specific goals and amounts for each one of those for every single day. When you eat an optimal balance of the macronutrients, it becomes a lot easier to manage your hunger and maintain muscle while you lose weight. So it's something I recommend for most of my clients. I like that approach. But this approach, as explained with the story with my client Aislinn, isn't really for everyone. Some people just don't enjoy tracking because they aren't really numbers people. Others might have struggled with disordered eating and feel triggered by food tracking. Whatever your reasoning is, there are always going to be people who are not big fans of tracking their calories and macronutrients, which I totally understand. Whether you're tracking or not tracking, the condition you need to be meeting for weight loss is exactly the same, a calorie deficit. And it is completely possible to eat in a calorie deficit without tracking your food, which you can usually accomplish by making specific changes to your nutrition and your exercise habits, and I'm going to explain that in just a minute. The thing that can make the non-tracking approach a little bit difficult is that you generally don't know for sure that you are in a calorie deficit. So many people will often overeat without realizing how many calories they're consuming, even though they're thinking that they're eating healthy and they're doing all the right things. This happens all the time. Or what will happen is they'll undereat because they think that they need to overly restrict their calories and their food intake to lose weight, and that will be unsustainable long term. On the other hand, tracking can sometimes allow for more flexibility. You can be more precise and accurate with your nutrition and know exactly how different foods can fit into your day. For example, someone who's tracking might have a cookie after dinner because they can fit that into their calorie goals for weight loss, whereas someone who's trying to lose weight without tracking calories calories might think that they can't have the cookie or it will negatively impact my results and this is going to make me gain weight. The other thing I see with tracking is that weight loss often happens at a steadier and more predictable rate. Now, I'm definitely not trying to convince you to count calories if you don't really want to, but I know a lot of people have misconceptions about calorie tracking, so I first wanted to bust some of those myths. But if you're interested in learning how to track macros, I'm not going to keep talking about that in this video, so I'm going to link a couple of videos in the description box that will give you a good place to start. Now, if you want to take it a step further, we have an incredible coaching program where in 16 weeks, we teach you everything you need to know about tracking and nutrition, and what's going to happen is you're going to lose weight, improve your lifestyle, all without restrictions. So if you want to apply, wait until the end of the video. I'm going to tell you exactly how you can actually get on a free call with me so we can kind of navigate you through that whole process. Now I'm going to get into the specific nutrition changes and habits that I recommend you to follow if you're aiming to lose weight without counting calories. And again, I'm going to use Aislinn as an example. So let's go back to her. This is the client I told you about it in the beginning of the video. I'm going to explain what we did to help her reach her weight loss goals because there are a lot of lessons you can take away and apply to your life and habits right in this moment. The first thing we did was look at her meal timeline, which is basically just how her meals are divided throughout the day. What we noticed was that she was not eating much during the day, and then she was going crazy at night when hunger hit and she was overeating, and that pattern was keeping her stuck. I'm sure you may relate to this one. So the step number one is to start to create a consistency with your meal timeline. Imagine you have an horizontal line where you're putting all your meals. You can create a meal timeline again by drawing that line on a piece of paper, and what you're going to do is you're going to write in the times of your 3 major meals. Then you can add in snacks depending on when you typically get hungry, taking into account any workouts that you may have or your schedule for work or for your sport, whatever may be the case, so you can have it in your schedule. Then aim to have a balanced meal or snack at each one of those times or time frames, which will help you avoid the late night hunger trap that many people fall into. The next thing we did for Aislinn is to add more protein to her diet. Rather than looking at specific number of grams per protein each day, which is something that we would do if you're tracking macros and calories, we look at portion sizes of the different protein sources in her diet. I explained the portion sizes you should aim for at each meal to reach your goals. One way I explain how to estimate portions of your meals, particularly for protein, is simply using your hands. For example, let me actually try to get close to here. A palm size of your hand right here, so if we're looking at this right now, this is going to be about 4 ounces of a meat source, okay? Another good way to picture this is with a deck of cards. 4 ounces of meat is as big and thick as a deck of cards. What we did with this client is we calculated her protein needs and we turned it into protein portions per day. I taught her ways that she could get 20 grams of protein, and I just simply told her to try to do this 4 to 5 times per day, or maybe doubling that up in main meals and simply having some snacks with 20 grams of protein to reach that goal. This is how you can get 20 grams of protein, for example. This would be equivalent to about 3.5 ounces of meat, whether it's like maybe fish, chicken, or beef, 1 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt, 3 eggs or 5 egg whites, 1 scoop of protein powder, or 3.5 ounces of tofu, which is again about that deck of cards worth of tofu as well. That's just a visual that you can have to help you estimate when you're serving yourself on a plate how much protein you need to be consuming. Adding more protein will help you lose weight by keeping you more satiated throughout the day, so you naturally eat fewer calories. Research has also found that protein can help you reduce late night cravings, which is a common time that overeating happens for many people, including myself. Another important nutrition change we made was increasing her veggie intake, which added more fiber and volume to her meals to help her feel full. At most lunches and dinners, I recommended her to fill half of her plate with veggies or also fruit. You can add veggies for breakfast too, but many people prefer to add some fruit as a source of fiber at breakfast. This is why I also included that. And of course, we also talked about the most feared of macronutrients, which are carbs. How do we know how much to have? For this client, I recommended her to fill a quarter of her plate with whole grains or any other type of higher fiber carbohydrate. Think brown rice, whole grain breads, sweet potatoes, whole grain pastas, legume pastas, quinoa. On days that she worked out, I told her to increase that amount to a third of her plate so she could have a little bit more energy to get through those workouts. What I just explained here can be summarized with what I like to call the rule of 3. Look at your plate and make sure a quarter of your plate is protein, a quarter of your plate is whole grains or a higher fiber carbohydrate, and half of a plate is the fruits and vegetables. It can look more like a peace sign, a third on each, on days that maybe you are actually working out so you can have a little bit more energy. The next step what we took with Aislinn is upping her water intake. So she was drinking around 1 gallon a day. Not only is water essential to keep your body functioning properly, but it also helps you manage your hunger and avoid overeating, since many people make the mistake that they confuse thirst for hunger. I recommend having a minimum of 64 ounces each day, which is about half of a gallon. But a gallon is really a great goal for a lot of people, or at least 100 ounces per day. After water, our next focus was on Aislinn's movement and exercise habits. Now, her activity levels as a jockey are ridiculously high. You have no idea how many calories a jockey can actually burn. So she was burning an insane amount of calories already. We just needed to tweak and add a little bit more resistance training to help her build muscle, which made the process of fat loss a lot easier and helped her feel more confident in her body. If you're not someone who has a very high activity level on a daily basis, if you're sitting down a lot at work and you're just not moving as much, starting to simply walk more can have a huge impact in your results. I recommend walking maybe 7,000 to 10,000 steps every single day to increase your total calories that you're burning daily, along with adding some form of resistance training to optimize muscle gaining and muscle maintenance. And then once her fitness plan was locked in, we worked on reducing her meals out to less than 2 per week by establishing a weekly meal prep system. You don't have to cook every single meal at home if your goal is weight loss, and I didn't expect Aislinn to do so, but restaurant meals typically are a lot higher in calories than home cooked meals because of the oil and butter the food is typically cooked in to make it taste good. So eating primarily at home and making smarter choices when eating out is important for staying in that calorie deficit. So what happens when she made all those changes? Well, take a look at Aislinn's before and after. I mean, there's a 10-pound difference between these photos, and you can clearly see that she's also put on some muscle and lose fat in the process. The changes that Aislinn made are a great place to get started with weight loss without counting calories. But I wanted to give you a few additional tips that are really going to be overall keys to making progress. And the first one is listening to your hunger and your fullness cues. Many people feel like they can't trust their hunger, and they have to feel hungry to lose weight. This isn't actually true. When you're in a diet that is high in protein and veggies, and you're drinking enough water, so basically doing everything I just mentioned, you're going to be able to follow your hunger cues and still eat in a calorie deficit. Now, if you're someone who feels like you're always hungry and it's the cause of overeating, the first step you need to be looking at is really increasing your protein and your fiber intake. Once you make these changes, check in with yourself and your hunger levels. If the problem is still there, it's possible that you're dealing with emotional hunger rather than actual physical hunger, which will need to be managed separately. That's a whole different video that I will need to do later. The next critical part of the process is to track your progress. Tracking your weight on the scale, how your clothes fit, and taking body measurements will tell you if you're losing weight or accomplishing your goals. And if you're not seeing these changes, it's a sign that maybe it's something in your lifestyle needs further adjustments. And finally, if you do find yourself in a situation where you're not seeing any progress, it's possible that you're eating more than you think you are. In this situation, which happens a lot more often than I like to admit, even if you're not planning to track long term, I highly recommend tracking your food intake for a few days to see where you might be overeating. Then once you do this little nutrition audit, you'll be able to take what you learn, put it into action to reduce your calorie intake, and go back to not tracking if that's what you prefer. Tracking can be a powerful tool to help you reach your goals, but it's not the only tool. In fact, some of our clients actually start with a zero counting process with a focus on designing a better lifestyle that can support their goals before we even think about tracking. In fact, my goal with many of my clients, even if they start tracking at the beginning, is to wean them off of that and then to only use it as a tool in the future whenever they need it. If you're a busy parent or professional who is looking to lose 15 to 30 pounds over the next 4 months and you want to see results similar to what Aislinn accomplished, I would love to chat with you about what that process could look like for you. Maybe you're someone who can see the benefits of tracking and you want us to support you through the process we've used with hundreds of men and women to help them lose weight while still eating all the foods that they love. Or maybe you're just someone who doesn't want to track but you're struggling to lose weight on your own. Either way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link below to get a free consultation with me on the phone. We'll jump on a Zoom chat. We'll map out a whole roadmap for you and see if coaching may be the solution to get the results that actually last for you. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I appreciate you being here to watch, and I love for you to share your takeaway or a question for me in the comments so I can answer those. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like content like this, because I'm going to be back with another video next week. Always released every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. See you soon.